Hi guys, and we're back with February's recap. So, big question, was Sinnoh Tour the worst tour we've had in the past 2 years? If you were out on the weekend, it might have felt like it, because there was just a few things that just felt really off about the whole event. Whether it was the shiny rate or the raids, there was a few things that just didn't sit right. I'll also tell you why you can't be mad at. But before we get into any of that, those of you who managed to use the Rotom code that I gave in a YouTube short, I hope you got a good one. I personally didn't, but I hope you did. Maybe some of you got the shiny. There was one person we met that day who had the shiny Rotom. I'll admit it was a bit confusing because Niantic in their wisdom decided to remove the code redemption button from the store on Android, and you had to use their website. Yes, there was some confusion between the O's and the zeros, which I had to iron out, but I hope you did get a good one at the end of the day. I suppose the only way to really think about this tour is to actually look back at last year's Hoenn Tour. Last year's Hoenn Tour was a very busy one. It was full of raids since you had Groudon and Kyogre all at the same time, not to mention Deoxys every now and then, if you were into doing raids, that is. But it also felt as though you got more because it was too busy. You knew you couldn't cover everything that it provided. They had collection medals, which this year they didn't. It was a bit odd that they would skip that out. They're relatively easy to do, and it adds something to the game, that makes you want to catch what's out there. This year felt almost empty as you went about. I know that sounds a bit weird, but it felt empty. My perception of this is just that between raids, you normally go walk about to get to the next gym, and more or less, one of you at least, is going to find some shinies along the way. The shiny rate for the Sinnoh Tour seemed to be really poor, and I think that's what's really the problem with this. Like, you needed that motivation. Whenever you get a shiny in between a raid somewhere, it's just in the wild, it's a motivator to keep you going, and among your group, you'll be excited. Whereas that never really happened this time, well, especially not for us. Our community hardly found a thing in the wild. All of our shinies came from doing the research, which was a very costly venture into your Stardust. I think I spent at least $1 million on Stardust just completing the tasks. I think the only benefit the tasks had this year, opposed to last year, was last year they had cryptic tasks, which meant that you had to decipher what they actually were, so you could do them, whereas this year it was very straightforward. It was power up, power up, power up. I think the only downside to that is that they were only giving you 2 Pokemon from each biome. You either got Shellos or you got Bidoof. There was nothing else involved. Maybe if they'd given you another 2, 3, made it a bit of a mix, you might have enjoyed doing them more. This is why the shiny rate, I believe, is so poor, is most people compare the tour to a community day, whereas in a community day you're focusing on just one, and that one is given a very straightforward rate, a boosted rate, but it's given a rate. Whereas in the tour, you're dealing with at least 10 different Pokemon per biome. The rates are going to be very mixed and definitely not ideal. At least this time around, the raids weren't too hard. When it was Kyogre, especially Kyogre, and Groudon, you needed at least, I'm going to say average players, probably about 6 to 8 players just to beat them, because they were tanky and they took a lot of damage. Whereas this time around, Dialga and Palkia, very easy, you could probably do them with 4 players. But I think most people just concentrated on the origin forms. They were the highlight of the tour. Doing the regular forms was not as important, we'll say. But again, shiny rate, not good enough. I got 1 of each, and that was enough for me, but then I would have preferred a better one, if you know what I mean. So I'm always going to be looking for that lucky trade, which never come around as often as you'd like. On the subject of raids, Enamorus raids were horrible. I don't know who thought that up. It was a terrible idea to do it on Valentine's Day. I can see what you're aiming for, but on a Wednesday when everyone's working for most of the day, and then in the evening they're going to spend time with your partner. I think we had a lot of shout outs on a WhatsApp group for people to help do these raids because no one was out. It's just it's a bad idea. There was no reason you couldn't wait for a weekend. All in all, it seems that the tour was mainly, in my opinion, a giant cash grab, as per usual Niantic behaviour. To remove the remote raid limit basically just means spend more money. Much the same as adding the regional locks into 10k eggs. Yes, you're getting a half egg distance bonus, but most people are going to try and hatch a regional egg and try and get a good one. All these things combined is going to sell egg incubators, and that's the focus. It's much the same as Chansey Community Day. Not a lot of people were out for that, but the eggs, all 2k eggs, had a penny in it. That's your boosted rate, just to get a shiny. If you're really that dedicated to getting it, you're gonna buy more. And this is why I say you can't be mad at the event being bad. If you're mad at this event, you're mad at yourself, because it was you who spent the money on a free event. You never paid for a ticket to join it. If you wanted to remote raid over and over and over, you paid the price. If you wanted to egg incubate and get some regionals, you paid the price. So although saying Niantic is bad at everything as per usual, I'll also point out that you're just as bad for spending the money in the first place. I know reality is a hard pill to swallow, but that is the reality of it. Yes, it was a bad tour, but at the end of the day, if you're going to continue spending money on it, it can't be as bad as what you're making it out to be. Otherwise you would have just given up and gone home, like I did. At the end of the day, I can't be mad at this event. Last year I got 17 shinies over 2 days. This year I also got 17 shinies over 2 days, and I also got 5 hundos. So I can't really complain too much, but it's just the execution of the event could have been done far better. Also the fact that we're walking about Scotland and it's freezing and wet, yeah, it's not the best way to spend a Saturday and Sunday. Anyway, looking into the future a little bit. So we're into March now. By the time this video comes out, it'll be March, I can guarantee it. So on the 16th, you're going to have Community Day with Litten. Since we're doing the Alolan starters, we can probably say Palkia will be April, I guess. Other than the new season, which could be anything, really. It's called World of Wonders. God knows what you're going to end up with. Probably some Ultra Beast action. The only other things to point out would be on the 21st to 25th, there will be a ticketed event to get Zarude again, if you didn't get him before. And on the 30th to the 31st, Shadow Mewtwo makes a return, so you're going to need some players for that one, no doubt. Other than that, couldn't tell you, but I'll only cover paid events like Community Days and GoFest. And quite frankly, the way things are going right now, GoFest had better be an absolute banger, because the execution of this year has been pretty poor, in my opinion. There's been raid days for Typhlosion, Samurott, Decidueye, that's all well and good, but they've been nothing special, really. The Dazzling Dream event is poor. They basically just did the same event as last year, only added a Cutie Fly shiny, and hope that would fly. They're going to do a charged up event, which is basically electric types, and it won't be much different from last year's one. Know the worth of your money. Don't just buy any old crap. Chances are you'll be able to get it for free anyway. Unless it's something absolutely unique, save your money. Buy something else. Anyway, I hope I've ended this video on a positive note, that you've got something to look forward to in March, whether it's Litten, Mewtwo, Zarude, whatever, and you can look back at your Sinnoh Tour and think maybe it wasn't all that bad. Until the next one in March, see you later.